Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. The demand for Crawford to fight Boots snowballs. And let me tell you something. It's going to continue to snowball because what I see happening here are the Spence fans have now started to come together with the Boots Ennis fans. And they collectively are starting to put pressure on Crawford to fight Boots Ennis. And what I will say is, people tend to forget that it wasn't long ago, as far as the WBO is concerned, Boots Ennis was in a great position to where he was going to be the mandatory to Terence Crawford. Nonetheless, some things happened. Boots Ennis ended up fighting underneath the for that IBF position. And the WBO decided they wanted to make some moves. They got rid of Virgil Ortiz. Long story short, the IBF, the WBO, the WBA, the WBC, they started making some moves based on who would not fight Crawford, based on all kind of other crap. And I don't even feel like getting into it. Long story short, Boots Ennis ended up kind of losing his position over there at the WBO. And ended up in what I think was a not so bad position in the IBF, but it just didn't work out the way he and his father planned for him to go directly into a fight with Spence or Crawford. Nonetheless, he got put into a further holding pattern because Crawford and Spence decided, you know what, that they wanted to fight each other. And it's really unfortunate because, let me tell you something. For those who forgot, Boots was his mandatory over in the WBO. Okay, he was at a certain point in time. All right, so it kind of is what it is at this point in time. You know what I'm saying? But this whole thing with Crawford and people saying he's afraid to risk getting in the ring with Boots Ennis because Boots is young, Crawford's in an advanced age. And taking on a dangerous young lion like Boots Ennis is something Crawford doesn't want to do. So that's why Crawford is talking about fighting Boots as a lose-lose. It's just an excuse for Crawford to put duck sauce on the fried rice. Now, what I will say is this. I understand how some people could sit here and say Crawford is ducking Boots. Okay? I get it. I don't agree, but I understand how a person who wants to sit here and who has their own agenda, because Boots is their favorite fighter, would sit here and argue that, well, why did Crawford fight Evanescence? He fought Evanescence, but he won't fight Boots. Now, to me, that's very simple. Crawford fought Evanescence as a stay busy fight, a low threat fight, of course, just to get the ring rust off and be ready for Spence. Okay? Very simple, man. As far as the whole making 8 figures and all that, I don't know nothing about that. All right? But what I will tell you is, you can't come now and look at Crawford's decision to fight Evanescence and say, oh, he's afraid of Boots because he fought Evanescence. No, it's a stay busy fight, low threat fight. That's what he was supposed to do. Okay? Not everybody's a Gervonta Davis that'll get in there and fight a damn Hector Garcia before going in there to fight a Ryan Garcia. All right, so let's just be real here. But that being said, Jerome Boots Ennis, we know what he brings to the table as a fighter. But I'm telling you right now, in my opinion, stylistically, Jerome Boots Ennis can present a serious problem for Crawford. I already did videos on this. Height, length, being able to switch, power in both hands, extremely intelligent, and then, like we mentioned, the youth on his side, right? But the one thing Crawford has, let's say they're evenly matched in all areas but one. There's one area where I'm going to say they're not evenly matched, okay? Is being disciplined inside the ring. Boots Ennis hasn't proven to me that he's as disciplined as he would need to be in a fight with a guy like Terence Crawford. Okay? For that reason, I got to say that I think it'll be an entertaining fight. I think stylistically, it'll be very fun to watch because let me tell you, they're both tall, long, lanky, powerful, and they can do the same thing each other can do. The difference would be, to me, the discipline. And I think that's what will get Crawford the victory. Now, that being said, as far as Terence Crawford, listen. We talk about pay-per-view attractions. Let me tell you something. If Errol Spence returned to the ring and chose not to fight Crawford, right? And Crawford chose to go on and fight somebody else and to defend his belts, the undisputed distinction at 147, Errol Spence goes up and fights anybody at 154. And both of the events went to pay-per-view. I'm telling you right now, Errol Spence will sell more pay-per-view than Terence Crawford. Okay? Simple. And Spence would always, in my opinion, have more options available to him because Spence is a pay-per-view draw. Now, if anyone wants to argue with me about that, well, leave it in the comments. I mean, there are other people here who follow the channel and other people who don't follow the channel who just may see this video and listen to what I'm saying, and they'll jump in the comments and they'll chirp you up with the quickness. Okay? It's just like Mayweather, man. Doesn't matter who that guy fought. He was going to do great numbers, right? It's like Canelo right now. Doesn't matter who he fights. He's going to do good numbers. And I think when you compare Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, although Terence Crawford won that fight, I just don't think that's going to correlate to him being a pay-per-view attraction now. I think Terence Crawford will always need the right dancing partner to get decent pay-per-view numbers. Without the right dancing partner, doesn't matter what distinction he's defending or he's fighting for, his pay-per-view sales will always struggle. You know, there's just some people just don't have that it factor. All right, Crawford is the man in the ring, but there's just something missing there. There's just something about him that if he's not inside the ring fighting, there's not many people want to follow him. And as a result, he doesn't get the support on pay-per-view that he would need to be able to go on and do what he says he wants to do, is to take on legacy-defining fights and basically make as much money as possible. We've already talked about this. Outside of Canelo, maybe Jamel, ain't nobody there for Crawford to fight to make the money he wants. Okay, simple. And that's why a lot of these fans, especially the Crawford, the Spence and Boots fans, these guys out here, man, forming Voltron. You understand? And they're like, look, Crawford needs to fight Boots. They looking at what's going on with Canelo and Jamel, just like we talked about. And they're saying, look, those guys are going to fight. Most people aren't giving Jamel a chance to win. I do give him a chance to win. If Jamel happens to beat Canelo, which I think he has a good chance, there's definitely going to be a rematch. I would think. But, you know, Canelo didn't rematch Bivol, but that's 175 pounds. I think he would rematch Jamel. So that takes both of them off the shelf. What does Crawford have left? He's got Boots. Okay? Or he's going to have to give up them belts. Because I'll tell you what, man, Boots has been in a holding pattern for a long time. And I think it's just at a point where you look at what these sanctioning bodies are doing. They're taking belts from people. They're not playing. You know, we got to understand, you know, Spence and Crawford had those damn belts, holding on to those belts. They created a bottleneck in the welterweight division for over a year, where guys weren't fighting, were just taking kind of fights just to stay busy. Guys were mandatories, not getting fights, someone getting step-aside money, allowing other fights to go on for unifications, and then the fight they were hoping they were promised, it didn't happen, so they were supposed to be fighting some title eliminator, and that didn't work out because, you know, some fighter out here has rhabdomyolysis. And bottom line is, it just created a goddamn bird's nest of confusion with all the 147 pounders. And what we really need to draw attention to is the sanctioning bodies didn't make the money that they expected to make. You know, they like to have those belts defended every 3 to 4 months so they can get that little percentage off of them fighters, 3% or whatever it is. And those belts weren't being defended. And that is why I truly feel they started putting certain fights together and fighters in place to basically set up to where Crawford or Spence would lose those belts. Because you look at what they were doing to Earl Spence. Earl Spence had his mandatories were crazy. Thurman was winner of Stan Eunice and Virgil Ortiz, then Boots Ennis. That's what Spence was up against. Remember, if he didn't fight Crawford, that's what Spence had to look forward to after that Ugas fight. It was either Boots, it was either going to be Thurman, or the winner between Stan Eunice and Virgil Ortiz. Well, now we look at everything that's happened. Spence has lost. Crawford's the man. And Crawford's inherited that problem. So Boots Ennis is the man. And to be quite frank, when you look at what these fighters have accomplished, as far as everybody at 147, I'm talking about the elite, guys at 154, really, man, it doesn't matter, like I said in another video, if you're a Crawford fan, Spence fan, Boots fan, but you got to be fair, man. Boots Ennis is the only logical opponent to go for the 4-for-1 deal and fight Crawford. Doesn't matter if you feel Boots ducked Crawford when he was under the WBO, or you feeling that, Crawford ducked Boots. People keep talking about this whole thing about people putting duck sauce on fried rice. I don't see it as Boots putting duck sauce on fried rice or Crawford putting duck sauce on fried rice. I see these guys making certain business decisions that they feel are best for them. And at the end of the day, Boots didn't bring much to the table money-wise. And right now, I still don't think Boots brings much to the table money-wise. You look, the damn Showtime, they can't even make a damn Valder Ruiz fight. They can't even get Thurman in the ring because, these fighters want a ridiculous amount of money. And you can't tell me that Crawford, if he does a fight Boots, you think Crawford, after coming off of this Spence fight and making that damn, $30 million or whatever the hell he made, Spence made like, $30, $40 million or whatever. You telling me that Crawford going to be okay coming back fighting for $5 million? You telling me Terence Crawford is Alexander Usyk? Usyk made all that money out there fighting AJ. Both fights, especially that second fight. Like $40 million. Man, come back to fight Daniel Dubois in Poland for like $8 million or some crap. You think Usyk okay with that? He's doing what he has to do. But it's like, whatever. Usyk just wants to stay busy. He wants to keep his titles, and he wants to do whatever he has to do to get to Tyson Fury so he has a shot at the undisputed distinction. Terence Crawford ain't worried about all that. Terence Crawford ain't trying to sit here, man, and take whatever fight he has to take for little to no money compared to what he believes he should make, so he can hold on to some damn belts just to get these sanctioning bodies. They get hit over the head by these sanctioning bodies. The man has a lot of belts. That's a lot of money he's got to pay to these sanctioning bodies. Crawford's already been there, done that, man. I'm surprised he hasn't dropped them belts yet. But I guess we'll find out what he's doing if the Spence fight doesn't come off and now he has a look to face Boots. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I should probably save this for another video. If Crawford drops those belts and moves up to 154, I don't know how to take that. But it depends on what his explanation is. Because I definitely could understand him being like, look, I ain't paying all that money to these sanctioning bodies. I've already got undisputed in 2 different weight divisions. I'm going to bubble up to 154. And maybe he goes directly at, what's his name? Costa Zoo. Not Costa Zoo. That was that boy's name. Tim Zoo. Anyway, he goes and fights Zoo. After Zoo gets through, I think he's fighting Mendoza. If he gets past Mendoza. Which I think he will, because Mendoza is a stationary target. He just gets hit, but he can crack. But then you got Crawford going up fighting Zoo. If he happens to beat Zoo and picks up that WBO strap, well, then he's ready to fight. By then, Jamel, if he beats Canelo, they probably would have just about gone into that rematch. Crawford may be right there waiting to get a shot now at Jamel if he decides to come down. But if Jamel loses to Canelo, then Crawford could definitely be in a good position to get that fight. But long story short, in order for us and for me to sit here and say Crawford is putting duck sauce on the fried rice, it just depends on what moves he's making. And right now, I think this man is making money moves. And I don't think anybody should knock him for that. He has an opportunity that he thinks where he can go out here and make top dollar as a result of being the undisputed in two different weight, having become undisputed in two different weight divisions. And he feels there's a demand for him. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's a low supply of two-time undisputed champions in two different weight divisions. A low supply. So when you have a low supply, the demand is normally high. But unfortunately for Terence Crawford, the demand to see him fight, I just don't think it's where, it probably would be for another fighter who's undisputed in two different weight divisions. And it goes back to him not having that it factor. You look at AJ. AJ is just a draw, man. And I understand the UK, but I'm just saying, there's something about AJ. Deontay Wilder, there's something there, but he kind of doesn't have the it factor either because his pay-per-view sales don't do well. He needs to have the right dancing partner. But AJ had it. Pacquiao had it. Gervonta Davis has it. Who else has that it factor where it's like Adrian Broner had it. Trying to think of who else, who right now has that. Ryan Garcia has it. Devin Haney and Shakir don't have it. But there's got to be something about you. It's not even has anything to do with boxing. There's got to be something about you that people just want to see you. You got to have something. And for Terence Crawford, it's unfortunate because he just doesn't have that. All the talent in the world. Amazing fighter. I think his profile has grown. I think his brand has improved. I think he will have more people watching his fights. I just don't think it's going to be what he needs. And to be honest with you, as long as the fans keep tearing him down and, going on these rants and going on these lives and, it's just, I was listening to a live today for about 2 minutes and I jumped off. I just couldn't take the language on there. I mean, just shouting and screaming through the microphone, calling Terence Crawford names, saying how he's so afraid of boots. The guy like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I'm like, what the hell is happening? I could listen to that crap for too long. I felt like I was going to become stupid listening to that. But anyway, I want to see what Crawford's next move is going to be. Because he may want to chase them big legacy fights. I just don't see it happening right now, people. I'm telling you. And I really think he should leave. I really think he should just leave Spence alone. I think Spence should retire, but we'll see what happens. But I mean, I don't think he gets any credit for beating Spence a second time. I don't care if they fight at 160. I just don't think he gets any credit for beating Spence a second time at all. And if something bad was to happen to Spence, man, Crawford would have to live with that the rest of his life. You know what I'm saying? I think even Crawford knows deep down that the way he beat Spence, Spence probably shouldn't be coming back to the ring. I know Crawford wants to get his money, but I know Crawford has good in him too. And I think deep down he's like, he should, it's like he said, he should take time and think about what he wants to do. Now, if y'all read between the lines, that's Crawford kind of saying to Earl Spence, just don't do it. That's Crawford, because normally they say, when a guy really wants the rematch, they'll be like, nah, we need to get the rematch on there. He all these rumors about something being wrong with him, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then we need to have a rematch. No, get back in the ring, and then I'll prove. He's not talking like that. Crawford is not talking like that. He's very respectful, but I think he's very concerned about Earl Spence, too. I truly believe that. I truly believe he's very concerned about Earl Spence. I don't care what no one says. When he gets in front of the camera, he's not going to come out and say it, but he dances around it, the whole Earl Spence rematch enough for me to pull out that he wants to fight him for the rematch and the money, but he doesn't want to fight him because I just really think he doesn't want to hurt that guy, man. I just really think Terence Crawford does not want to hurt Earl Spence. He'd rather try to figure out a way to get to Canelo or Jamel. And if it's going to be boots, hey, no problem as long as the money's right. And that's what it comes down to with Terence Crawford. His thing is going where the money's at. And he knows a fight with Crawford, a rematch, there's going to be money there. But that being said, we'll see. I still think Earl Spence, even if he takes a year off, when he returns, he'll always have more options available than Crawford. Even if Spence, like I said, if he chooses not to revisit any negotiation with Crawford, especially with Crawford being the A side now, it's just going to be a matter of, I think, Crawford ending up in what I'm calling this. Crawford is in a situation, an unpleasant situation that's going to continue to grow. The same way the demand for Boots and Crawford to fight, that's growing and that's snowballing. Crawford being in an unpleasant situation where he can't get the legacy fights he wants and the money he wants, I think that's going to snowball as well. But we'll see what happens. I've done enough videos to talk about a lot of this. I personally think Crawford and Spence, if that rematch happens, well, I'm going to just say it like this. Well, let's just assume Spence is okay. I think Crawford and Spence, I think they should rematch. If Spence is healthy and there's no issues, they should rematch. I think Boots should fight Thurman. Okay? And then Jamel fights Canelo. Now, if Boots can get that feather in his cap with Thurman and Crawford beats Spence, well, then the fight has just amplified times 10 for Crawford and Boots to get in the ring. Especially if Boots can beat a guy like Thurman. But we know Thurman wants money. So then you would have that. And then the winner of that, I mean, hell, depending on what goes on with Jamel, if he loses, well, then now, they can look at bubbling up and doing something else. And they can start chasing big money. But the bottom line is Crawford is correct when he says it's a lose-lose fight in Boots, because Boots is not a springboard to legacy fights for Crawford. He's not. Crawford is a springboard to bigger and better and also legacy fights for Boots Ennis. So why would you move down the ladder if you're Terence Crawford? We don't reverse. We move up the ladder. Boots Ennis is in a position where he's moving up the ladder. If he fights Thurman, that's a step up the ladder. If he fights Crawford, he gets to the tippy top. That's just what it boils down to, man, and being fair to everybody involved. But at the end of the day, the Spence fans, the Boots fans, they're coming together because they're like, nah, somebody's got to take this man down. And they don't like to see Crawford succeeding the way he is. And I think it's entertaining, but I just don't think it's cool for people to come out here and to accuse Terence Crawford of ducking Boots Ennis, saying he's been ducking fighters for the last 10 years, and he's scary and he's afraid. He knew Earl Spence was hurt. And that's why he pushed for the fight. And man, this is just crazy, absolutely crazy. You know what I'm saying? They need to stop. Spence was calling out fighters who were champions when he didn't have a belt. Crawford was calling out all kind of fighters when he didn't have a belt. Even after he became undisputed and bubbled up to 147, he was calling guys out. And now they're at the top. Boots Ennis, it's a pattern, people. All fighters do this, especially those guys who are special. That's what they do. You're supposed to call out those guys. You're supposed to make some noise. Nobody's going to notice you if you're not making noise. But Boots Ennis has put himself back in position to where he should be fighting for a title. It just so happens that Boots could be going into the 4-for-1 deal, and he's very fortunate. And you know what? I don't even think Boots would push back if they were to try to make a deal. I think Boots would take a 75-25 split. I don't think he would say, nah, they need to come to the table with more money. I don't think he'd be stupid. He won't hold it. He won't take it to the stupid. He'll hold his horses. He'll be like, nah, I'll take it. He ain't going to be like Shakur Stevenson. He'll take it. But that being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. We'll see what happens. But this thing about Crawford and Boots, I'm telling y'all people, expect all of these content creators to jump on board with trying to put that pressure on Crawford to fight Boots. Boots is the new Spence. He's the new boogeyman. He's the new, I would say he's the guy they want to build up now to say he's the one to tear down Terence Crawford, or how they call Crawford, crawfish. That's the direction it's going to go. Crawford beat their hero Spence, and now they got Boots to come on board now for Boots to try to take Crawford out. And I'll be honest with you, if Crawford was to knock out Boots, then people would finally get behind Thurman and say, well, no, it's Thurman, or they may say it's Deontay Wilder, who knows what. Bottom line is, some good fights on the horizon. Just not sure it's going to be the kind of money that Crawford thinks he deserves or he's in a position to earn. I just don't think the money's there. But he does have that connection. You guys know what connection I'm talking about. So you never know what could happen with him and his finances when he has that connection. And especially if he decides to activate those guys in his here at the end of his boxing career to make sure he's getting those $20, $30, $40 million paydays. He may even have to go out of the country to get it. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. I'm in the breeze.